To the only live political talk show on Sarasota County Politics. I'm your host, Ron Filipkowski, and this is Clout 941, the show that everybody in Sarasota is talking about. Tonight's guest is Walt Augustinowicz. We're looking forward to that, and we have tons of news. We have 2 Weasels of the week. We just couldn't decide between the 2, and our rumor mill is loaded. So let's jump in. We're going to be moving fast. We got a lot of ground to cover. This week we went to there's a new sheriff in town, Tom Knight, and we went to his swearing in with our film crew. We don't have time to show the footage tonight, but we have a nice segment of that up on our website, which is clout941.com. Tom Knight is the right man at the right time for Sarasota County. Sarasota County has had, I guess the best word to describe it is undistinguished sheriffs. We've had some good sheriffs, some very good sheriffs, some really bad sheriffs, and some average sheriffs. But I think looking back on the last 30 to 40 years of the sheriffs in Sarasota County, we haven't really had any that you could say were great. We believe Tom Knight is going to be that guy. He's bright, he's young, he's energetic, he's personable, he's humble, he's smart. He takes advice well, and he's surrounded himself with some great advisors. Principal of which is former Manatee County Sheriff Charlie Wells. The legendary Sheriff Charlie Wells, we hold him in incredibly high esteem. I got to know him really well last year, and he is just an incredible guy, a fountain of knowledge. He's working unpaid as an advisor for Tom Knight, and that's great news for the people of Sarasota County. Tom Knight is a progressive thinker, and now he's got an old-time traditionalist sheriff who's got a wealth of knowledge, and he's just going to be great. He went in with a bang. Tom Knight's first week, I mean, he had the command staff officers who Sheriff Balkwill had dressed them all in white shirts, different from the other deputies who wore green. One of Knight's first things, they're all back in green. A small thing, but the rank-and-file deputies that I talk to appreciate small things like that. It sends a signal, hey, we're all the same, we're all in this together. He also forming the Citizens Advisory Committee. If you want to get on that, go ahead. He's got about 40 people that he's looking for to serve on that and to meet monthly and advise him on things that the sheriff's office should be doing. He's also following through with his campaign promise to deport illegal aliens who commit crimes directly from the county jail. Believe it or not, we don't do that. When illegal aliens are arrested for local crimes, state crimes, they're at the end of their sentences, they're just released. He's he's linked up with the INS and to deport illegal aliens directly from the county jails when they're finished with their sentence. It's something he campaigned on. He got the biggest applause lines whenever he talked about it, and now he's following through. As we said, he is the right man at the right time to be a great sheriff, and we expect that he'll be a sheriff for at least 15 years. Next is the Joseph Smith appeal. Joseph Smith, the killer of Carly Bruscia, has appealed his murder conviction. And look, everybody has an automatic right in the state of Florida to an appeal. The appeal goes directly to the Florida Supreme Court, and this is what he gets. There have been a lot of people upset that he's filed this appeal. Well, it's automatic. The best issue he has on appeal is regards to the DNA evidence, and I spoke to his trial lawyer this week, who is Adam Tabrouge, about this issue, and got a lot of the behind-the-scenes detail about it, and it is an issue which could succeed, unfortunately. The issue is that the state attorney's office brought down a DNA expert from Virginia to testify, and it was not, unfortunately, the expert who actually performed the DNA testing on the DNA that was found on Carly's body. And the problem with that is that similar issues, similar cases have been overturned on appeal when that happened. Now, the Florida Supreme Court could hang its hat on not overturning the conviction based on what's called harmless error. In other words, if there's enough other evidence to convict him besides the DNA, then they could say, well, even though the DNA shouldn't have been admitted in this manner, it's harmless because of the overwhelming evidence in the rest of the case. That's what we expect to happen in following and looking at the case. The next thing is the Florida Supreme Court, which is historic. For the first time in the history of the state of Florida, we are going to have a majority of justices appointed by a Republican governor. Through a strange chain of events, 4 vacancies out of 7 have occurred in the Florida Supreme Court in the past 6 months. That means Governor Christ is going to appoint a majority of justices to the Supreme Court in just a 6-month period of time. What are the quirks? Number one, Florida has a mandatory retirement age for judges at 70. They have to retire at 70. And one of them, that's what happened. Now, they're looking at amending the Florida Constitution to make that a little bit older. There's a United States Supreme Court Justice, Justice Stevens, still serving at 91. He would have been forced into mandatory retirement 21 years ago if he'd have been a Florida Supreme Court Justice. So they're looking at that. The other quirk in the system is you actually have to live in Tallahassee, which is a little bit of an unusual city. I went to Florida State University, so I lived there. And it's a strange place. It's a strange place to live. And a lot of judges and justices, particularly those from South Florida, go into culture shock when they move to Tallahassee. 2 of the justices are leaving that were appointed by Jeb Bush a short time ago because they don't want to live in Tallahassee anymore. So that's also been a strange quirk in the system. Now, 2 of the judges that have been appointed, the first 2 that were appointed by Governor Christ, were very conservative. They were a conservative's dream. Charles Kennedy and Ricky Polston, very conservative justices. But then he kind of shook things up with his 3rd appointee, which is Jorge Labarga. He wanted to nominate a Latino. He had a chance. There was a very conservative Latino on the list, Frank Jimenez, who was Jeb Bush's right-hand man. But he chose instead Jorge Labarga, who's a very liberal, he's a registered independent judge, and the conservatives are very upset these past couple of weeks over that appointment. Governor Christ's advisors said he wants to keep a balanced court, and he doesn't want the court to get too conservative. So we'll keep an eye on his 4th appointee to see which direction he's going with that. And finally, in the news, the Veterans Administration in Sarasota County has more veterans than any county in Florida. The Veterans Administration ruled that they will not give out any Purple Hearts for post-traumatic stress disorder. A lot of the people who suffer from post-traumatic stress disorder have lobbied the Veterans Administration that they should be awarded Purple Hearts so for emotional injuries rather than just physical. I served in the Marines. I'm a veteran, and I'm very sensitive to veterans issues. I'm a member of the VFW, but this was a bad idea. We should not give Purple Hearts to people who suffer from post-traumatic stress disorder. It is a legitimate thing, but unfortunately, a lot of veterans do fake it in order to get veterans benefits. That's bad enough, but the last thing we want to see is to get people who are faking it to also get Purple Hearts. And secondly, 2 veterans could be in the same unit and experience the exact same identical thing, except one of them will emotionally come out of that experience okay, and the other one will suffer from post-traumatic stress disorder. Why should one get the Purple Heart and the other one didn't? They both experienced the same thing. So we think this was a very sensible move by the Veterans Administration and to not award Purple Hearts for post-traumatic stress disorder. So that's it for the news. We'll go into our first break, and when we come back, we have our guest, Walt Augustinowicz.